we're constantly checking in on our phone, we're almost preventing ourselves from building a strong mind, from building a strong brain. So I took 5 solid days off of checking my social media, and it felt really great. There were definitely negative feelings to begin with, just like quitting any addiction. I felt really anxious. I started to hear my own thoughts a lot more than usual because I was creating space to hear my own thoughts instead of just going, oh, I'm feeling a little bit anxious, so I'll just pick up my phone and avoid myself. And I started to notice how negative my mind is, how negative the human mind is, and how much I beat myself up, how much I focus on the negative, how much I focus on things I'm not doing right, how much I focus on everything that I'm messing up. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, like this is why I spend so much time on my phone, because I don't want to be in my brain, because my brain is potentially weak because I haven't been consciously strengthening it by having to sift through and navigate my own thoughts. When we're constantly checking in on our phone, we're almost preventing ourselves from building a strong mind, from building a strong brain. We are uncomfortable with that empty space that we just grab our phone and we just fill the empty space because it's so easy to grab. And I do this too. This is why I knew I had to give myself a very strict boundary of I'm not going to touch it for 5 days. The moment I made the decision, right? It's an actual decision. I decided, meaning cut off from all other options. I said, nope, I'm doing this thing. I'm going to take 5 days off. I made the post, I put my phone away, and I came into this room and I laid down on this futon. And I had more free-flowing creative ideas come to me in that 45 minutes to an hour than I've felt in the last 6 months, because I let myself completely cut off from the option to check my phone. For me, the freedom that comes from saying the entire next 6 days I'm not going to touch my phone, the moment I decide, that's when the magic starts to happen. Like I said, I want to be honest with you, I did feel and experience a lot of negative thoughts as well. But that's because that's what's there. You have to like sift through that first. That's the part that none of us want to experience. That's why our phones or social media or any other distraction is so successful and so tempting and so addictive, is because we don't want to have to sift through that negative bullshit we have to go through first. We don't want to hear the inner critic that's going, no, you should work out, you didn't work out enough, you shouldn't have eaten so much, why'd you eat so much, you're so fat, you're too skinny, you're so weak, this happened when you were younger, and why'd you do that, and you're raised like this, and you're mad at this person, why didn't you text that person back, you forgot to send that email. Oh my gosh, that's my brain. I don't know what yours sounds like. Maybe you forgot what yours sounds like because you have run from it for so long. This is what my whole book is about, by the way, you guys. If you don't know, I wrote a book called Coming Clean, and this book is all about all the ways that we run from ourselves and we avoid our feelings. And then we build up something called emotional debt, and that's all that negative stuff that starts to come up the moment you go, hey, I'm not going to go on social media. And you start to hear all the stuff that comes up, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been avoiding. This is what I've been running from. But the beautiful part is it doesn't stay there. If you're willing to push through, this is why I knew I couldn't just do 1 day off social media. So if I just did 1 day, I'd hear all the negative stuff come up and I go, thank goodness I can get back on my phone now so I can run away from this mean girl in my head, right? The day I woke up, the next day, I was like, okay, I'm not going on social media today. What am I gonna do with my life? It's like our mind starts to freak out and like, it has all this space and it doesn't know what to fill it with. You start to hear all the nonsense in your mind. It's super busy. You have all these silly thoughts that are telling you need to do this, you need to do that, why didn't you do that? The chatter. But if you're willing to sit through that, then you eventually get to a clearing. And the clearing is just this space that feels calm and it feels present. And this is where creativity comes from. This is where the feeling of real gratitude comes from. This is where you look over at your children or your partner or your backyard and you just go, wow, I'm really happy right now. That feeling of like, I am present and I have everything I need. But we can't feel that, we can't get to that clearing if we're constantly not willing to sift through the bullshit that's first, meaning to sit still long enough to be with ourselves and then let the beauty come through. I'm curious to know, like, what you guys feel about social media and your phones, and do you notice that it's kind of like always buzzing in the background? Because I think that's really the most draining thing for me. It's like it's almost constantly pulling me, if that makes any sense. It's like sitting there waiting for me, calling to me, always wanting me to come over and post or check it or whatever. And that felt like such an attachment that it really called me to do this break. And that's why I'm excited to continue experimenting with 6 days off and just coming on 1 day per week. But I guess we'll find out. We'll see. It's all about navigating what works for you and finding awareness around your relationships to all these things. And that's what I write about in my book. And the first part of my book is called Searching for Wholeness. And I'm talking about, how do you search for wholeness? What are you attached to? Maybe it's not so much social media. Maybe it's more shopping on Amazon. Maybe it's more sitting in your kitchen and eating bags of potato chips or boxes of cereal. You have to get aware of what is pulling you. What are you attached to? What are you using to hide from yourself or avoid your relationship that's right in front of you, or to avoid your life that's right in front of you? And that's why the book subtitle is Stop Searching and Start Living, because I truly feel, at least for myself, that as long as I search continuously outside of myself for validation, for approval, for happiness, for love, then I'm not really living my life. Beauty comes from pushing through discomfort, and sometimes the most uncomfortable thing to do is to be still. I have a book called Coming Clean. It has tons of writing exercises, mirror work, and different things for you to take part in at the end of each micro chapter, so you can actually feel a shift in your life. I love you guys so much. Bye.